Well, hi, I'm Alex Schultz. I'm the planning director for the city of Spencer, and I thank you all for coming out here tonight to our second presentation put on by the Historic Preservation Commission for the month of May. Tonight, we've got the history of the Tangney Hotel presented by Adam Van Gorp here with CMBA Architects. Want to make sure that everyone's aware that next Thursday, May 12th, we'll have the conflagration, the Great Spencer Fire of 1931, presented by Julie Schmidt. Tuesday, May 17th, we'll have Spencer's Sanborn Maps presented by Kirby Schmidt. And May 19th, we'll have the History of the Clay County Fair presented by Jeremy Parsons. So I'll turn this over to Adam here and go back to hide in the booth back there. It's all yours.
All right. Thank you. I'm gonna try to use this one, so let me know if you can't hear me. But yeah, like Alex said, I'm Adam Van Gorp. I'm with CMBA Architects. I'm a principal architect there. We have a place just downtown Spencer here. We've been there just about 10 years now, and have had another office in town. So been in town for a while in different capacities and under different names. But like I said, we're with CMBA. We do a lot of different things locally in our community. We focus on a variety of different projects, but mainly in the healthcare and education spaces is where we do a vast majority of our work. We're very versed in new construction as well as kind of renovation and historic projects as well. And so this was one of the projects that we were involved with over the past several years, and had the opportunity to work with the Grand Avenue Community Outreach on doing some work with there, doing some documentation, and really starting to do a little bit of a deeper dive into their building. And so that was kind of why we got involved in this and why we were able to, present some of the documents here that we have and some of the images and pictures that we'll go through tonight. It's been a real pleasure to be a part of that project. We really wish Grand Avenue Community Outreach the best as they kind of move forward with their directive and take care of this really beautiful piece of architecture and the history that it brings into Spencer. Okay, so I'm going to start with just kind of a brief summary. As part of the work that we did, this will be fairly architectural focused. There's so much to tell about this building. There's so many great stories with the Tangney Hotel. And this presentation tonight will be a little bit focused towards the architecture, towards some of the construction, the renovation throughout the years, the long history and the drawings and some of those things, just because I'm an architect and that's kind of what I know. But there are so many cool stories, so many amazing stories. I even heard a few just tonight. And so I encourage you, if you're really interested in this building, to pick up a copy of the Tangney Hotel book by Arla. I think there'll be some copies here tonight, yes. So if you're interested in some of those, please do a little bit of a deeper dive. It's a really great read, and there's some really good stories too, just outside of the architecture as well. So. Just so everybody kind of knows what we're talking about, I think everybody knows the building that we're talking about, but I'll just kind of give a brief summary here, and then we'll go into a little bit of some of the scrapbook images and some of the drawings that we have here tonight. So the 5-story Hotel Tangney building on 605 North Grand Avenue stands on the northern edge of the linear Spencer, Iowa commercial business district. Located on a narrow polygonal block, the 1-story stone-clad hotel entrance fronts West 6th Street, and the upper hotel room floors rising above in a U-shaped traditional commercial storefront on Grand Avenue. The rear of the hotel backs up against West 7th Street, and the Des Moines architecture firm Boyd and Moore designed and oversaw the construction of the Italian Renaissance Revival style brick and stone hotel in 1919 through 1921, with the general contracting completed by Spencer Construction Company. And the building was engineered at that time for a future addition where they added the 5th floor that was planned and actually constructed in 1934 through 1935, and was designed by the original supervising architect from Boyd and Moore, whose name is John Normal, and he was built then by Arthur Newman and Company in 1936. The use of the building's fireproof building technologies, steel and reinforced concrete structure with a masonry exterior reflects the construction during the interwar area. It was built kind of between the First World War and the Second World War. And reflects that kind of common style. The building did, and proved to withstand itself during the fire, the Great Spencer Fire. So really a neat building, and we'll kind of look now at a few maps of where we're talking about and get into some images of that. Okay. So these are some of the sources that we pulled some of these images from. Obviously, none of us were around to see all of the building's history, and so we pulled a lot of resources through the book that Arla wrote, the Tangney Hotel book, as well as some other sources. Thank you. And we also did kind of a deep dive as we did our work with Grand Avenue Community Outreach. We had Jennifer James Communications help us in doing some additional history and research, and some of the pieces that I'll be reading tonight are from her research and in the deep dive that we did just recently as part of the project. So this is a map of kind of the commercial district in Spencer. You can start to see where that building is, if most of you probably already know that, but it's kind of on the original site of the Erling Hotel was its predecessor, and that was built in 1887. So there again, a kind of little closer map of the downtown district in Spencer. The polygonal block that butts West 7th Street there is where the hotel is located, and kind of that original Erling Hotel site. So this is one of the early Sanborn fire maps, and again, that presentation is coming up and going into a deeper dive of some of those maps coming up. But this is kind of some examples of what some of those things look like. And on here you can see in the brown color the Tangney Hotel building that fronts kind of Grand Avenue there, as well as where the original Erling Hotel, which actually kind of split in half and moved back. And that's where the Tangney family lived. And then they kind of abutted the two buildings, and then eventually that Erling Hotel was demolished, and then there stands to this day the Tangney Hotel.
What happened to the Erling Hotel? What happened to it?
Yeah,
In the 70s.
I think so, yes.
It was moved down with Bill Phelps had his office, the old Arnold Motor Building.
Sure,
That was part of the hotel that moved over there.
sure. So yeah, yeah. So I think they split the building in two, and I have an image of it here we can kind of jump to, but they, and there again, you can kind of see that a little bit better image of that hotel, and you can actually see some of the storefronts that were along Grand Avenue there, kind of the three commercial areas where they had those spaces. But yeah, they kind of split that Tangney, the original Erling Hotel, and connected it. I think they've called it the Annex in several things that I've seen. But there you can kind of see a map of where it was, and just today now there's just that parking lot in that area. This is an early image of kind of downtown Spencer, just to try to kind of get the mindset and the construction type of downtown. And so you can kind of get a feel of the time and the area in which this construction was being built. And this is actually an image of the original Erling Hotel that was split. So part of this remained, was moved on site, and then this is where the Tangney family actually kind of lived for a while. But you can kind of see the construction type, and we actually have an actual photo that was a postcard, but an actual photo of this building. So a little bit less ornate in the actual image, but you can kind of see the three-story building there, wood-framed structure. And so yeah, I think some of it was moved around town a little bit, and but pretty cool to see that building. It was really neat, built in the in the 1880s, I believe. So. So another thing so this is an image inside the original Erling Hotel, and kind of shows the front desk area. Really cool shot. It's actually a pretty good high resolution image. And so if we can kind of zoom in, We can see that this is actually in July of 1917 is when this picture was taken. You can kind of see the calendars on the wall in the back there, as well as the two gentlemen kind of at the front desk there. So it's really, really sharp image, and it's really cool to kind of zoom in and see some of the detail in here. So this is, only 2 years before the construction of the Tangney Hotel was actually started. But you can see, some of what it was like. If we zoom in on some other things, you can see signs. The one on the left is actually for Sacred Heart Catholic Church, and on the right, the kind of auto livery. Really cool to kind of see some of the details, some of the things that they hung on the wall there. As well as on the right-hand side of that photo, you can see some of the keys for the hotel rooms, and some signage and things like that. So it's a pretty cool image, and one you could really spend a lot of time looking at. So it says positively no commercial paper cashed. Yeah, right. So I think it's sort of an early version of banking where they they wouldn't cash sort of a commercial paper or a promissory note kind of thing. Sort of the previous version to no checks allowed. So from here, then we're going to kind of talk about then that Tangney Hotel building. Originally, it was a 4-story building, like I said, built by Boyd and Moore. And you can see kind of the newspaper ad here from the Spencer News Herald. It says, "We are proud of our new hotel, new $300,000 hotel." So the original hotel was, constructed for $300,000. So you can start to gauge a little bit of what inflation has done over the last 100 years, but definitely could not build that building for $300,000 today. So with that, I'm going to read just a little bit more of this insert here, and can start to kind of set the stage for what this building was and some of the history there. So the Masonry Hotel came about at the request of the Spencer Commercial Club, which announced plans in March of 1919 to form a stock company and select one of several propositions made by hotelers for construction of a large modern hotel in downtown Spencer. The club noted that the early community stock-funded Erling Hotel with 50 rooms was filled to capacity daily, and another 25 travelers were turned away. So, every day they were getting 75 people come, and they couldn't accommodate all of them. And so they really sought that need for the additional capacity and hence, the scope of this project. The commercial club proposed that the selected hoteler would purchase the frame Erling Hotel property across from the railroad depot for $27,500 as the site for the new hotel and convey the property to the new hotel corporation. In exchange, the commercial club would ensure that the stock company would provide $50,000 to $60,000 in investment. The commercial club sought out E.C. Tangney for a proposal, and in quotes here, "Many of the people have expressed a wish that E.C. Tangney of the Arlington Hotel at Sheldon could be introduced and induced to come to Spencer and affiliate himself with the new hotel. He has a good hotel in Sheldon, one that is given universal satisfaction and is a man who enjoys a wide acquaintance among the traveling public. Mr. Tangney has 2 sons who are experienced hotelmen and would give Spencer a good hotel." And that was in the Spencer Reporter in February 12th of 1919. So they kind of convinced E.C. Tangney to come from Sheldon and set up shop in Spencer and construct this hotel as part of that. So pretty cool history there. As I keep going, the commercial club selected Tangney's proposal for a 4-story basement, fireproof hotel. The commercial club cited E.C. Tangney's experience as a contractor and builder prior to becoming a hoteler and as a benefit to the project. In July of 1919, the Tangney Hotel family had reached agreement on purchasing the early hotel site from the former owners. The Tangneys purchased the site and contributed $20,000 to the hotel corporation. The Spencer Commercial Club was to sell $75,000 in preferred stock and guarantee a loan of $50,000 when the building is complete. The Tangneys were to retire the stock at $7,000 per year and were to build the hotel. And that was in the Spencer Reporter in July 9th of 1919. And then in August 1919, the wooden early hotel was cut into two sections, with the front half moved across the railroad tracks and remodeled into the Hotel Vendel, and the rear portion was moved to the side lot for housing the Tangney family and to backup rooms for the hotel. In fall of 1919, Boyd & Moore architecture firm in Des Moines completed the construction drawings for the 4-story hotel with a full basement and capacity for additional floors to be added in the future. And the contractors were to supply, bids were solicited at that point. And again, that was published in the Spencer Reporter again in September of 1919. The Tangney brothers, Earl and E.F., both served in World War I, as did architects Byron Boyd and Herbert Moore, which may have introduced the firm. Superintending architect John Normell, another World War I veteran, oversaw the project and would later return to design the 1930s fifth-floor addition. Material shortages, likely due to the World War I rationing at that time, continuing into the immediate post-war era, contributed to construction delays. The local newspaper reported on the construction, such as in August 1920, an update that the concrete second floor of the building was poured, and the 3-story elevator was used to hoist lumber, steel, and concrete into the building. So even back in those days, war and rationing and those things led to construction delays, and so it's good to know that the times have not changed and we still are dealing with a lot of those same issues. A lot of cool lessons to learn from the past here, and it's really cool to kind of see how they built that and some of the hardships that they had to deal with in striking up that construction. So the 4th floor was opened first for hotel guests, with 28 rooms offered in February of 1921. The project was nearly finished in April of 1921, as E.C. Tangney reported to the Spencer Commercial Club. Club member Wilson Cornwall praised Tangney for his diligence and the family's additional monetary contribution towards completing the project. And he's quoted as saying, "I sometimes think that if anyone but Mr. Tangney had undertaken to put up that hotel, we might never have seen it finished. He put more than $100,000 of his own money into building the hotel." And so really a strong commitment there, really overcoming some of those initial hardships, but that the stubbornness of Mr. Tangney was well-founded and really good for the construction, and it was finally completed. So it was pretty cool to see that. So publicity for the grand opening of the hotel detailed that the main building featured approximately 101 guest rooms, with another 24 or so provided in the old Erling Hotel, and now called sort of the Tangney Annex. The south-facing main hotel entrance opened onto a lobby featuring a fireplace and terrazzo floor. The entrance to the lobby was also accessible from an eastern doorway. 2 dining rooms were another source of pride for the hotel owners and offered 3 meals a day to the public as well as hotel guests. A private dining room opened from the main lobby, and the main dining room featured French windows. The Tangneys advertised that the dining rooms were well equipped to handle banquets and private parties of any size. The kitchen was initially located in the northwest corner of the building. An open terrazzo staircase led to upper rooms, and an Otis elevator provide access to all the floors. 3 commercial storefronts faced the main street, including the Driscoll Candy Stop with soda fountain and 2 vacant spaces to start. The southeast corner of the basement contained William Ellis Barber Shop, and the southwest corner, J.W. Uncle's Pool and Billiard Room. The upper bedroom floors were duplicative, and the carpeted double-loaded U-shaped corridor leading to 6 eastern rooms containing private bathrooms and additional western rooms having only running water and private telephones for use with shared toilets. let's see. Each narrow room had a window for light and ventilation, and the city's steam heat plant provided hot water and radiant heat with space for furnaces if needed in the future. So that was kind of some of the opening publicity around that building. But yeah, pretty cool to see how some of the things that they were proud of, to have some rooms that had private bathrooms and some that still had shared restroom facilities. And so, the restaurant and all the commercial spaces as well. So pretty cool. All right, so a few more images here. This was a matchbook kind of marketing piece that was from that 1920s that talked about the Tangney Hotel. And on the back there, you can actually see some of the additional hotels that the Tangney family had, including the Arlington Hotel in Sheldon, the Muscatine Hotel, the Wakanoza in Fort Dodge, probably Wakanza, there we go, sorry. Get that right, and the Burke Hotel in Carroll. And so all of those were owned and operated by the Tangney family, sons and descendants of Mr. Tangney. So pretty cool to see that piece. Again, here's some more of those around Iowa. One of the sons also kind of teamed up with McGinn hotels, and so the Tangney McGinn hotels are also frequent around Iowa. And you can kind of see some of those other pieces there. So this is an image of the original 4-story Tangney Hotel. You can see the kind of cornice piece that they had on top that originally topped out the building. That piece came off as the addition of the 5th story was added. But this was an image shot, really soon after the finish of the completion of the hotel. And you can kind of see, actually, if you look to the left in the sort of background of the hotel, you can see the early hotel in this image as that annex piece, and how it was sort of moved to where the parking lot currently is located. And so now we're going to flip through a few of the plans here. So we brought some of the original construction plans, and if you look closely in the corner, you can see that Boyd and Moore architecture stamp, and the original construction drawings date, and even the revised date in October 16th of 1919. Pretty cool to see that we have these drawings that are over 100 years old and still in very, very good shape and well preserved. So here's the floor plan for those that aren't able to walk up and kind of see these, and feel free to do so after this presentation. But you can kind of see some of the drawings here. As we zoom in on this area, you can see here, it's a little bit hard to see, so we kind of tried to adjust the colors here a little bit, but you can see on the right-hand side the outline of the Tangney Hotel, and then the annex, the Erling Hotel, and half of that building to the left with the staircase that connects them in between. There's some really cool detail on these drawings, and they're really kind of a beautiful piece of artwork. They're definitely, construction documents, right? These were pieces that were made for a purpose, that were made to be built from and constructed from, but they inherently have kind of a really nice sense of beauty and artistic flavor to these things, and really speaks to the care that the architects took in their craft and wanting to show the building in the right way. And all these are being hand-drawn, and the meticulous nature of this is really cool to see. This is an upper level floor of the original set of drawings. Again, here we kind of adjusted the contrast so you can see it a little bit more detail. But you can see kind of the main entry area. You can see the stair connection to the Erling Hotel, and all the dimensions and everything required to start to build and construct the hotel. Here are some additional floor plans. Again, a little bit hard to see, so I would encourage you to come up afterwards, but you can start to kind of see the outline of these spaces. This is the main level, the original main level, with the lobby on the interior, those dining spaces, the commercial spaces along Grand Avenue, and that stair connection to the left as well. This is an upper level floor plan. You start to see a little bit of that U shape hotel space with all of the hoteling rooms along there. So it's a little bit blurry, I'm sorry for that. The other thing you'll kind of see is there's actually some pen markings on this drawing, which reinforces, you know, sort of the construction nature of these things, right? These were working drawings and plans that people actually build from. And sometimes it doesn't always work out. And so sometimes you make some notes on there and take some writing and have to figure some things out in the field. And so it's good to see that that also happened back in the day. Here's back to that original 1919 set again. This is a sheet of details and elevations. And it really speaks to some of the craft that they took in designing the facade of the building, the coining that goes around the windows, and the detailing that they took and really sorted out. If we can kind of zoom in here a little bit, so you might recognize some of these windows and kind of the decorative fencing and railing, all dimensioned and ready to be built. And really, again, pretty cool to see the level of detail that they took and all being hand drawn. So there's what it looks like today. So you can kind of see, you know, how it looks on those blueprints and how then that gets translated to reality, and how some of that detailing is evident still to this day on the facade of the building. This is the interior of that same window, and so you know, the kind of original arch-topped window, and you know, it's still there today, and still really kind of one of those iconic pieces of the Tangney Hotel and the original detailing. This is another cool detail of the original set. This is a blown-up image of right at that roof area, and this is where the transition from 4th floor to the 5th floor actually happened. And so there's a part of this that they took off, but you can see some of the ornamental detailing that was around there, that cast iron cornice, and some of the detail plates that were set into the masonry up there. Pretty cool stuff to see this as well. And you can kind of see a little bit how they started to take some of that off and then add on from there. Again, there's an image of that original hotel construction, and you can see some of that cornice detail at the top again. A couple of other images that are also in this set of documents on the traditional blueprints here. This is of the original interior lobby space. You can see the large fireplace there, as well as the staircase, that terrazzo staircase that I read about, that heads up to 2nd floor. And some of the detailing with the walls and the wainscoting, and the arched doorways and things, all figured out and all hand drawn out of those plans. Here's a little bit larger detail of that fireplace and, you know, how to construct it and things like that. The section through the fireplace and how to build it. Really great craftsman work here, and all put into some of these details. This is again in that same lobby space. This is actually a plan view of the front desk of the original hotel. And on the left, you can see it says telephone booth. And it's moved around a little bit, but it's still there. The original telephone booth is still there. It was pretty cool to kind of explain to even my kids that, so you know, you didn't have just a cell phone back in the day, right? You had to go into a booth, and it was connected with a wire, right? And not only was there a wire, right next to that space you can see the telephone switch room, right? And so not only did it take one person to make a phone call, you had to have somebody else help you too. So it was pretty cool to explain to kids, you know, that back in the day it wasn't as easy to just pick up the phone and call mom. It took several people, and it was a very prominent and big deal. So pretty cool to see that in that original set there. Right. Right, yes. Yeah, put a lot of faith into the phone operator for sure. The other thing that I thought was kind of interesting too is on the right-hand side, you kind of see a little bit of some drawers, and there's actually a display case that says cigar display. And so a section through that desk, right, is the cigar case. And so, it's always interesting, I think, the things that they choose to focus on, the things that were important to them back in the day. Then we have to make sure to get that cigar case out front and part of that desk. But pretty cool to see that, just different things that they took as important, as valuable back in the day. So here is a section through the stairway of the building. This is the part that connected to that original Erling Hotel. And again, it just speaks to a little bit of that craftsmanship and some of the engineering and drawing, as well as the know-how and how to construct some of these things, and the information that was needed to put it all together. Pretty cool to see this as well. Okay, so that kind of brings us to the original building. Now in 1934 and 35, the addition of the 5th floor, economic boom in Spencer, and it did, expanding the capacity of the hotel with the 5th floor. So you can kind of see that in this image. And again, the original architect from Boyd & Moore, who's now out on his own, John Morrill, was the architect for this phase and did the construction documents to do this addition. Here's another image of the kind of completed hotel. You can see the larger, Hotel Tangney signs that were kind of iconic on top of the building for a long time. Here's a couple images of Bob and Dale, who were bellhops at the building, and so kind of dressed in their Sunday best there, working at the hotel. And a lot of those details are still there. It's cool to see kind of how, what they wore while they were working there, and some of the ambiance of that space. So as I said, kind of John Normal there, doing the addition to that 5th floor. We have those drawings as well. Some of these are in, better or worse shape than others. Some of them, start to lose corners after so long. But you can see the layout of the upper level there. This set of plans is a little better shape. It's a little bit newer. But you can see some of the hotel rooms as well. The bathrooms that were included in those spaces, and kind of the layout of that space. Here's an elevation looking at the building and seeing how they added that 5th floor to the top of the building. Here's a little bit closer view of that same thing. Picking up some of those original coining details on the corners of the building, matching some of the windows, but really doing the windows based off of the interior spaces of the building and matching up with those hotel rooms on the inside. And then you can see the elevator tower sticking out of the top, which is still there today as well. So there was an original elevator put in with the original 4-story building, and then I believe it was modified or moved somehow and then extended as part of the expansion in 35. I think currently it is working, yes. Yes, it's operational today, so.
It's got a capacity of 1,500 pounds.
And it has a capacity of 1,500 pounds, yes. So, a good 3 people, yeah. Yeah, it's not overly spacious by any means, but it does work well today. So these are a few more details from that set of drawing. Here on the left-hand side, you can see a section through the wall of that 5th story addition, and the structure and the connection to the existing building and the window opening there. Again, it's always cool to kind of see where they thought it was important to add detail and to add information for the contractor to build. And to the right there, you can see, even the floor base and the window sills, right, all drawn out in section and called out as wood, and some of the innate kind of details that really bring a place like this to life. And then keep going right, you can see a section through the doors in the hallways. And the doors all had like a transom above the top of the door, and that was to allow some cross ventilation through the whole building. And so each of the hotel rooms had a window, but obviously back in those days, air conditioning was not a big thing. And so they would open up windows, and then they could actually open up those transoms above the doors to allow some cross breeze to go across the entire hotel space and kind of actively cool some of those things in the warm summer nights. And then here's kind of a blown up section. So I've shown a lot of the architectural plans so far, but with a lot of these sets, electrical drawings and plumbing drawings and things of that nature. And so this kind of shows a little bit of the detail, to the infrastructure that goes into these rooms. You can see connecting toilets and connecting light fixtures in these spaces, and all the detail and thought that goes into planning those things, even back in those days, and the coordination that was required by the architect and the design team to make sure that it was all functional and all well designed well ahead of time. Here's some additional details of the restrooms and the bathrooms that are in those spaces. Not very large by any means, but you can see a shower, the toilets, the lavatory with a wall-mounted mirror, a tub, and those kinds of things. Kind of give you a sense of scale of how big some of those things were, and again, some of the importance that they put on some of those design elements. Okay, so back to a few images. Yeah, so this is pretty happening downtown Spencer, Iowa. You can see the Tangney Hotel on the right-hand side, kind of standing as one of the tallest buildings in downtown Spencer. I really like this image. It really shows kind of that bustling downtown and the liveliness that Spencer has had for a long time, and the importance of that central business district. I also really like this image because on the far left there is actually where our CMBA office is currently located, where it says Spencer Music Supply. That's our current office location. So it was really a privilege to work on this project and walk just down the street to go to be a part of it. So here's again another image. This one is from the 70s of the Tangney Hotel. And again, you see those kind of iconic Tangney, Hotel Tangney signs on the roof. You can see some of that 70s interior. As part of this, the hotel on the inside was sort of constantly renovating and constantly updating. Everybody always wants to stay in a modern hotel, and so while the exterior, is great and survives, in a really original version to today. The interior, you can see remnants of it. You can see the layers of the building, but there's a lot of layers. There's kind of constant updating and keeping things updated and shifting styles throughout its whole 100-year history. You can see a lot of that sort of iconic 70s in some of these images, with some of the more turquoise and wood paneling and things like that. The bottom photo is, I think, in more of a public area, probably the bar or part of the restaurant somehow, and around the fireplace. So here's a few more images of the kind of the exterior. There's the, fireside. Yep. Pretty cool. Here's a few more images of kind of the exterior throughout the years, and kind of like I said, the exterior really, for the most part, the awnings and some signage and things like that have changed throughout the years. But remains a constant, remains really true to the historic nature of the building. Here's some older photos of the north side. Again, kind of that hotel entrance, the Western Union stop, the bus stop that was along there. Originally I think it was connected and set up there next to the train station for the train stop, but serving transportation hub for a long time in this current location. Here's a few images of the interior, and I'll kind of just flip through some of these, but you can kind of see some of that continued renovation over the years, and what it looks like throughout its history. So the wallpaper itself had a flock to it. Yes, some of the same decor made its way up into the upper levels for sure. There again are those phone booth rooms that are still there to this day, and a previous, kind of been moved around a little bit here and there. But yeah, there's kind of two of them showing in this image. And as I said, kind of that constant construction and renovation that happens with a building of this age, and a few images of various remodels that have happened throughout the years. Many of you probably know a lot more of these people than I do, but I really, some really cool shots here. The other thing I'll say is that the Grand Avenue Community Outreach has a book with a lot of these images in it that they have on location still, and has a lot more detail into it than I'm able to go into tonight. But there's some really cool images, and John Galvin, and then the other person, Gary Wilmot. Yep, Gary Wilmot. So I think they're probably sorting over a few construction details in this image. But so part of the set of drawings that we have up here, and we'll flip through those a little bit later in the presentation, is Kenninger and Galvin architects and Spencer here, previous versions that led eventually to CMBA, but yeah, kind of in these images, and did a lot of work around town. Here's another of kind of that front desk area and another renovation space, and having to constantly stay open throughout all these renovations, right? And work around construction, and didn't shut the hotel down for any of those things. Here's some of that renovation on the first floor, kind of the main door that's coming in. You can see some of the walls have been framed in, and again, kind of similar image. You see some of that stained glass that's still there on the outside. And here's more or less kind of what it looks like today. But it was renovated, yeah, and the image there is December 30th of '88. And you can see some of that, the detailing that still exists today with that front desk and hotel staff busily working in this image. If the wedding party stayed there, the whole hotel room was free. That's cool, yeah. The lower level here, where these stairs kind of lead down to, there was a lot of banquets and weddings, and a lot of things stayed in it. I could have probably put a whole slideshow together of just wedding images, but yeah, it's pretty cool that that was a good thing that they offered back in those days. And this image was taken in the '90s around Christmas time, decorated for Christmas. And again, you can see that phone booth to the left there. So that's the original, phone booth space, and just kind of been moved around a little bit. Here's a shot of the diner that was on the corner there. Some of you might remember some of that. So here again, that renovation in '88, that to the front dining room space, and again, similar to what it looks like today, is still being used by Grand Avenue Community Outreach to serve meals out to. But yeah, very similar as what it looks like today. Here's a good shot of the kitchen area in the back, and the kind of food service that happened out of those spaces. And then we've got a few images of the upper levels. Pretty wild carpet there. I think it hides spills well, or something like that. But yeah, it's kind of those double loaded corridors. You can see the hoteling rooms on either side on the upper level. And here's a few images kind of through the years of just some of those hotel spaces. Some of the tiling and bathrooms were a little bit smaller than what you might expect at a modern hotel today. There's a kind of a little bit more modern, renovated hotel room with red carpet. The darker ceiling grid with the white tiles, very much a 70s thing. Here's some more images of construction throughout the years. This is a good one. You kind of see some of the wall makeup and the masonry that goes into some of those spaces. This was a really well-built building, and they really, really stout construction. And requires a lot of hard work and demo to actually kind of move it and change it and alter it. Pretty cool to kind of see this under construction here again. Here's a few more shots of it under construction and updating some of those rooms. And again, some of that later remodel. There's actually some steps that go into some of the bathrooms in order to get the plumbing to all work and those kinds of things as part of those modifications. Yeah. A few more of those hotel rooms throughout the years. That one didn't have the red carpet, right? So part of the building does have a sprinkler system in it, but not the entire thing right now. So the lower levels have a sprinkler system, but not the upper levels. Yep. And it's one of the restrictions to continuing to have people stay overnight. It's perfectly occupiable right now as it is, but just not allowed to stay overnight or sleep there. Takes a little bit safer, higher standard of care there to accommodate that, but. Here's another shot with the old tube TV in there, in the casework. 13-inch, yeah, I think that's probably about right. But yeah, you can kind of see, continually updating this thing, continually making some changes, and trying to stay relevant and modern to the day. So here's a kind of an evening shot. It's a little bit dark in here, I'm sorry, but kind of glowing at night. And this is a 1970s shot. And you can see the building a little bit more modern, but still about 50 years ago. Kind of glowing in the night, and really kind of that beacon that's been on the north end of downtown for a long time. So here we have just a few more. We have a few more drawings here tonight that we've kind of brought of various of those remodels that we kind of saw images of, different designs throughout the years, different incorporations. There's been a number of different architects. This one was from Design Incorporated out of Sioux City. They did some drawings for some of the details and a version of renovation to the hotel. Also, James Walsh, a Spencer architect, did some renovations, did some updates to some plumbing and restrooms and things like that. Again, a lot of some of the similar construction types and details. But I showed this one too because I like that. It really shows the construction nature of some of these drawings. You can see all the math that he was doing right on the sheet there. And so, we talk about architects. Having to be a little bit of an artist, but also a little bit of an engineer, and you can see him working through all the construction details and the math of how to build this thing and how to put it together, right on the page. So it's pretty cool to see. There you can see some of those renovated floor spaces, trying to get some restrooms into some of the spaces that didn't originally have them. Reconfiguring some of those spaces and trying to stay current and modern. And again, still, a lot of those details that they had to work out, and the craftsmanship and the artistry that they took in the drawings that they put together. This is a section through a wall. Again, all hand-drawn and hand-colored and shaded, trying to communicate how to put the wall together, where to put those louvers, all the parts where all the wood and things need to be. And really kind of some really beautiful craftsmanship just in the detailing of these things. And then you see that come to life in the final product. Here's another detail of, just even the carpet edge on the stairs, right? And the craftsmanship that they took just to make sure that the edge of the tread was perfect, right? Every little detail and every little thing sort of figured out ahead of time, and all those transitions and all the notes that he, took the time to figure out ahead of time. So pretty cool to see that too. This is another Palm Brothers architects out of Minneapolis. Also did some variations. This is actually some of the food service drawings, and so they were kind of a food service consultant and did the restaurant, the diner piece to this. This was done, I believe it says in, let me look here, 75. March 14th, yep, 75. So again, you can kind of see that diner in the lower right-hand corner of the building, and working out all the pieces that go into that space. And then some of the sort of like hand-drawn perspectives of what that space will look like. And we saw that image a little earlier in here of what that diner was, but pretty cool drawings to see some of these things sketched out ahead of time, and the detail that they took in drawing the chairs and the upholstery and the tile floor and things. Yeah, and then a few more. Earl Cooker, another architect out of Spencer, did some work there. Did some renovation spaces to some of the bar area, I think to the left there. The little bit of the stage that's in that area. So yeah, those are pretty cool. With the building that's over 100 years old, there's just a wide number of people that are going to work on a project like this, and there's so much renovation and so much updating that needs to happen over the years. And you can see those layers when you go to the building, and you can kind of see the different influences and different styles and different eras and ideas on top of each other as you kind of walk through this building. It's really cool to see those different layers. And then kind of finally the more recent, that Kenninger and Galvin, and again, Spencer Architects. And there's kind of that, we saw some of those construction photos, but some of those, that current layout with that reception desk. If I can turn this, see if I can turn this on. Yeah, I don't know if I can turn it on, but the phone booth's in there, and then kind of that dining space to the right-hand side. But yeah, Kenninger and Galvin did a lot of work around town, and a lot of influence in Spencer, and definitely had their hand in this project as well over the years. This is kind of a cool piece. This is another piece that was out of the scrapbook from the Grand Avenue Community Outreach. But this talks a little bit about some of the costs of some of those rooms. You have the executive room, which I believe is $58 a night, and complete with a TV. The blue carpet room, the economy room. I have seen previous versions of this where I think they talk about the red carpet room, and then those banquet and meeting rooms as well. Here's another letter kind of back in the day from Earl Tangney as a recommendation letter for one of the staff that was looking for a new position. But on that Tangney Hotel letterhead, and kind of can see his signature there too as well. E.C. Tangney had died in 1939, and so there's kind of the obituary in the newspaper. Again, he was a pretty big hoteler all throughout Iowa, and so this was in the Des Moines Register, and pretty big deal when he died. And it wasn't that long after the construction of the 5th floor that this happened, and his sons took over. Some other kind of headlines that feature the Tangney Hotel. There's, Truman had visited the hotel. Oh, you're okay. They had traveling doctors that had visited the hotel throughout the years, which is pretty cool, as Grand Avenue Community Outreach still has some of these services in its service today. You can see the letterhead again on the left-hand side with some cool written notes from the 1970s. Some more just kind of newspaper snippings and things like that of the Tangney Motor Hotel. And then, kind of another ad here that Tangney, or the Hotel Tangney, featuring that coffee shop. This is a little later, obviously. It features air conditioning, those party facilities, things like that. So pretty cool to see. So here's kind of what the building looks like today. This is part of our review process that we did. And you just kind of see the condition, that survived through all those years and is still really prevalent in our downtown today. See some of the detailing that's still there, the detailing of the exterior of the facade, that wrought iron gate around the lower level access area there. Some of the coining on the corners and the stone and brick detailing that's so iconic to this building. Just some more images of the exterior. There again, you can see that stair tower to the right where the original Erling Hotel used to sit. The stair tower is still there, and then it was extended to connect that upper level to the 5th floor. when that renovation happened. And then sort of finally, as part of what we were working on, was studying what the Grand Avenue Community Outreach was doing and some of the work that they're still doing in there today. They have numerous services through there, and let's see if this works here. You can kind of see, all the levels and all the access that they have on those spaces. And, the upper levels are definitely being less utilized, and the top floor is mostly vacant at this point. But a lot of great programs that they have there. They're doing a really good job of being a good community partner and doing the outreach that they can, and continuing to be a good steward for those people that need some additional help in our community. And really good to see that they're good, active partners in that building. And so I would encourage most of you, if you are interested in more of this, to go to the Grand Avenue Community Outreach website, check out some of the services that they do, and just learn a little bit more. I'm going to go to their website, and that kind of wraps up most of, and this is their website. There you can see some of those old historic photos that I was showing. But as you kind of scroll down, you can learn a little bit more about Grand Avenue Community Outreach's mission, how to get involved, and they even have kind of a live Skycam of downtown Spencer there. So it's a pretty cool website. I would definitely encourage you guys to go check it out. Yeah. So that, for the most part, concludes. If there is any questions, please feel free to come ask. I'll hang around and we can talk about some of these drawings if you want to. But yeah, go ahead.
The hotel was originally built by the Tangneys in the 1920s. And when the Tangneys wanted out, an organization was formed of 21 people around town to take it over in about 1963. And we had to give those people a lot of credit. Ones I know, I only got 8 of the 20. Wayne Hurd, John Greer, Wyman Steffen, Ben Shine, Frank Hart, R.D. Bertel, Ralph Wyatt, and Wayne Winslow, and there were another 13 people. I don't know who they were. Couldn't like it up. I could just remember the hotel building just to the west of the property, which is moved to make way for the parking lot, is moved 2 blocks south, where Bill Phelps, where the Arnold Motor Building had their office. And at some point, Sylvia Shine and Carolyn Tobus, Toby's wife and Hank's wife, acquired ownership from the 21 or 25 member group. And Jerry Wilmot, you all know, soon became the manager. Was an active manager for many years. Then the property was sold to a Steve Bear, who operated for several years and then took bankruptcy. Here's a guy we got to read. Toby Shine had to take it over by paying about $687,000. And he turned it over to the current organization. Now, this was that was information that those people need some real recognition. Toby Shine and that group 21, and I.
Right. But thank you all for coming out again. Adam, thank you very much for coming and do this for us. Thank you. Yep.